Good morning, everybody. I'm Melissa Nielsen with Waldorf Essentials, and today we're going to talk about behavior. So before we do that, though, I want to say that we've been having a sale for the last few days, 40% off our site, and we are extending that for a couple more days. Probably extend it through about Wednesday or so. So if you haven't jumped on some things and you need some things from our site, then this is the time to do it. So hop on over, and I will post the link for that in the comments so that you can see how to get to the sale page. And then if you have questions, feel free to ask me, or you're welcome to ask Kelly, my assistant. So I wanted to talk to you today about behavior. And one of the reasons why I push our Thinking, Feeling, Willing program so much is because it affects behavior. If you do the work, then you will have the effect of you being in a more centered place and your children being in a more centered place. The compliments that I get over and over and over again are, wow, I didn't realize how much your program would affect my home. And that starts with, we talk about rhythm and holding the space. Those are the biggest key points right there. Just rhythm and holding the space. And that's a huge piece. It's a huge piece of who we are as parents. It's a huge piece of like cornerstone foundation of sort of being a Waldorf parent at home. Although it should be the cornerstone foundation of everybody's home. So there are things that we talk about in Waldorf all the time. They're really things too that really are just part of a natural, balanced, happy home, present home, a home where there's not so much chaos. So chaos happens. I mean, goodness. So we have 5 children. We've had life of chaos for sure, and we have 3 that are at home permanently. We have a son that just returned from his mission. And he actually starts this new job today. And so I know what chaos looks like. And we live in a teeny space, 860 square feet. It's small. But we have a lot of people here. So I understand chaos. So I have to be on top of the chaos. I have to be in a good place. I have to be in a place of being centered myself in order to be able to support the people and the emotions that are here. And I couldn't do that if I wasn't taking care of me. So when I don't take care of me, then things fall apart because I'm sort of the driver of the boat. And so if you're having issues where you've got kids that are falling apart and upset, and you're falling apart and upset, and your husband or partner is falling apart and upset, guess what? You got to step back and you have to evaluate. So every work that I do when I work with families is evaluation. The evaluation is the first thing. Look at where you are. Look at where you are, and how you got here is a little bit important, but only as far as changing behaviors. So if you are looking at everything's falling apart, you've got these kids that aren't behaving, and you're really struggling with them, you really have to look in the mirror before you can look at the kids and their behavior. So yes, of course, there are things that go on. We have special needs on 2 levels in our home. My oldest son has Asperger's / autism spectrum disorder, and my youngest has SPD. She's got some OCD stuff going, and goodness, our days are full and sometimes crazy. So yes, there's extenuating circumstances that can make things even more busy and crazy than everybody else's home. But I come back to, you have to be looking at yourself. So one of the pieces when we're evaluating, and I don't know why my video is so jumpy, I'm so sorry. Anyway, I can see it jumping around, so it's probably jumpy for you too. I apologize. But one of the things that we look at when we're evaluating is we go, okay, how did we get here? If you have kids, say you've got little kids, and I can remember when I was the mom of 3 stair steps. I had Harry, Jacob, and Ellie, and they were 2, 4, and 6, and then they were 4, 6, and 8, and they were, that was a hard time in my life. It was a really hard time in my life. And when I see moms that have kids that are that close together, I just want to hug them and say, it's okay, you'll get through it. And yes, I know they're fighting now, but you've got to get yourself centered, because when you're centered, then everybody's centered. And when I was in the middle years of that, so when Ellie was 4, Jacob was 6, and Harry was 8, I went through a divorce. And a year later remarried. So we had a lot of things going on in those years that could have very easily contributed to me hating my life. And I didn't hate my life, because I came up with these key things about holding the space that really are incredibly important. So again, holding the space is about how you act. It's not about how they act. It's about how you act. It's about how you come to things. So when you are energetically walking into a space, you can feel the energy of everything there change. So, and I'm not talking about, people will say, oh, that's that very mumbo jumbo. No, it's not mumbo jumbo. What I'm saying to you is, it is exactly when you walk into a space, you change the energy there. So examine your kids. Your kids are probably, I'm asking you to look, much better behaved when you have them near you. When you walk away, or you get on the phone, or you try to read something, or you're trying to make dinner, all of those things, that pulls your energy away from them, and they feel it. And when they feel it, they don't know how to handle that lack of security. So one of the things that we do with sort of building rhythm and building the space with you holding the space as they're growing, as we're giving them that safe, secure boundary so that they can feel it. So then that boundary, as they get older, gets bigger. So in January Rose, I will talk about autism here in just a minute. So that boundary gets bigger as they get older. But you can't start off really big. It has to start off small. So you help them feel, and it's sort of like trust building a little bit, but we don't want to put that so much on them at that age, because they're really young, and they can't be trusted. They're amazing creatures. But they're learning. And I have parents say to me all the time, how do I get my husband to understand that my 4-year-old is not going to take yelling commands? And I go, well, is it working for him? Because obviously it's not working for him, because you're talking to me about it. So I would say, if you're in that situation, have your husband watch this video. When they are little, they can't take those commands. They can't take the you shouting at them. When they are 2, they can take 1 or 2 word commands, like please pick that up, or hand that to mom, or and you could even be working with sign language without even using a whole lot of words. Hand that to mom kind of thing. Or the reason why 2-year-olds are so good at saying no is because we're so good at saying it to them. No, don't do that. No, don't do that. Oh my gosh, get down. That's where you are when they're that age, because they're usually very mobile. It's the first time they're super mobile. Actually, about 18 months. It seems like moms really don't sit down. We had the new mom in our co-op, and I was sort of watching her the other day, and I kept thinking, where did she go? Did she go home? And no, she has one that's 2, and she's just chasing him all around the park, because that's where he's at. He was not in a space to sit still yet. And so that's her job, is to chase him all around the park. Now, she could just let him go. I don't like it when moms do that. That doesn't mean that I'm a helicopter mom, because there's a huge difference between holding the space and being a helicopter parent. So holding the space just means that your energy is there. So what do you do when you got to go make dinner and you need to hold the space? Isn't that the great time to turn on the TV? No, it doesn't have to be. I'm not saying that we don't do TV at all. We definitely have some periods of some watching, but I don't like to use the TV as a babysitter for every day, because that's what it is. We can talk about all the educational shows that are on TV, but what it is it's a babysitter, and for us as adults, it allows us to check out, and we don't want children checking out. So I don't utilize the electronic babysitter unless it's honestly a have-to situation. I have to get something done and I need them to stay in a space. Or everybody's sick and I really need them to sit still because they're sick and they're not. I need them to heal. Those are the times that we really use it. That we do have regular watching. Sunday afternoons, we generally will sit and watch some documentaries together or some easy things. We really are liking on YouTube, Coyote Peterson, the Brave Wilderness guy. My kids are really engaged when we watch something like that because then we're talking about animals too at the same time. So, but again, don't overuse that. Don't go, oh, I'm going to make dinner, so I got to turn on the TV. So what do? Even when they were little, we have always had things for them to help with in the kitchen. There are days when I just go, I got to make food, and you guys got to help me out, or you guys got to sit next to me and talk to me, or one of you read to your sister, or you have to work within that. But that requires you to think on your feet, and that requires you to make a plan. So if you have those hours of the day where you're supposed to be making dinner and getting everything ready and your partner's not home yet and you're trying to get everything ready, then honey, you got to make sure that you take those kids in the kitchen with you, because the moment that you disconnect is when chaos starts. And that's when kids get hurt. That's when kids get mad at each other. That's when fights start. All of those things happen when you withdraw your energy. So when you are energetically present, how does that look? For me, I'm either sitting on the couch knitting, or I might be doing some light work. I can do light work, like Waldorf Essentials work, light, while they're around. Often we're engaged in something. We are engaged in schoolwork most of the morning time, so we're on a walk and then we're back doing main lessons, and I've got that down pat. I've got 5 children. I've got 3 at home that I'm teaching right now, and so I've been working with this multiple child thing for a long time. So utilize the resources that I've given you for that, because honestly, it helps. It helps. You just have to get in the rhythm of doing it. And here's the other thing. You have to transcend who you are to become who you want to be. You can't stand here and say, I can't do it. If you want a peaceful home, honey, you got to get off your fanny and you got to make it happen. You are not going to have a peaceful home by not efforting. You have to make it work. You have to be the one to move it. You have to be, don't stand there and complain and tell me, oh, but they're so horrible, or oh, it's so awful. And I have to stand again and say, what are you doing? How are you adding to this? Because children do not act horribly in a vacuum. So something is going on. Look at their sleep. Look at their diet. Look at your sleep. Look at your diet. Look at how things are between you and dad. We have a great program called Thrive. If you're struggling with your relationship with dad, but it's fixable and it's in a good place and you guys are both willing to work, guess what? Come see us. We have a great marriage and family program. So get on the same page with dad. It's not rocket science, but you have to both want it. You have to both want peace. So if you both want peace, then guess what? You can work together and you can create this amazing home. I have, and I know countless people who have. It is not hard. You just have to put forth the effort. So once you've decided, hey, I'm harnessing this, I'm doing it, then honey, get your fanny to bed when you should. Get to bed so that you can get up before those kids. And I don't care if it's 10 minutes or 3 hours before them. But you got to get up and take a deep breath and be able to have your head screwed on straight before your day starts. Do not get shot out of a cannon by having some 2-year-old pry your eyes open. You want to get up. And you want to have your potty trip taken care of at the very least. I know some of you do coffee in the morning. I do tea or hot chocolate in the morning. I got to get up and I got to be in my space. And that allows you then to have some place to grow from for the whole day. You are in your own space for just a few minutes. And because I have moms say, as soon as I get out of the bed, they're coming with me. And there is nothing wrong with looking at your 3-year-old and saying, I will be back. You are fine. And then you come back and they're fine. And yes, it might be frustrating to them at first and you might have some tears at first, but guess what? It's a growing experience and you move on. So there is nothing in attachment parenting philosophy that says you can't be direct with your kids. that says you have to be walked all over. Listen, I have been an attached mom for more than 20 years, and my kids obey. There is nothing wrong, and I don't beat them. Yes, that doesn't mean I've never spanked. Most parents have had an opportunity to spank and totally has not been your best parenting moment. But please, you can do this. You can be an attached parent. You can be loving and present. You can be positive with your discipline and with your enforcement and still have children that are obedient. And I know people don't like the word obedient because it sounds really harsh. But guess what? That's the long and short of it. You want to be the authority in your home. That does not mean you are authoritative. That means that they look to you and they respect you. And they think, oh shoot, something's wrong. I better go see what's going on, or what was my part in something. You have kids that then are loving you as much as you are loving them. And guess what? Then they start loving each other too. So, okay, I'm going to read some comments here. Can you offer tips on talking to a child who refuses to do the lessons that you have planned? I don't allow that, Jenny. We get up, we go for a walk. Guess what? Oh, you don't want to go for a walk today? So sad for you. Get your dang shoes on. We're going now. Is how it is. Oh, you don't want to do these lessons today? Well, what did you have in mind? Oh, well, guess what? Lego building is on the list at 2 o'clock today. Right now, we're going to sit down and we're going to do lessons. I am sorry that it's not exactly what you want. Disconnect the emotion from it. I have a child. He is an amazing adult child now. And I've talked about him before. Jacob, great kid now. Man, I didn't think I was going to get out of parenting with him. I thought he was going to be the hardest one on the block. Nope. And that's not because he went to live with his dad when he was a teenager either. It is because every day he came to me and said, do we have to do school today? And it was like the most melancholy, me wanting to choke him piece ever. Until I realized that I needed to disconnect. Yes, honey, we're doing school today. See you at the table. Move on. You need to disconnect your emotion. See, you're emotional about it because you spent that time planning, and dang it, these kids are going to do what you planned. And you know what? They will. And you have to be in a space to know when your plans have to change, but also be in the space to know that, okay, we're doing this. We're doing school today. I'm sorry that you have a different agenda. And that would be part of a family meeting where you're talking to everybody and dad is included and dad backs you up. And if you're struggling with getting your children, especially, and I'm not talking about a 7-year-old or even an 8-year-old, I'm talking about the 9+s too, you get dad involved and he best be behind you. And you need to be able to say, Dad, I need your help. I need you to help me get these kids in line. Because guess what? You're as responsible about it as I am. Our behavior affects their behavior. So you need to realize as parents that every single thing you do, everything, they're watching you. Not in a creepy way. Well, sometimes in a creepy way. Sometimes they take pictures of you and post them on the internet while you're sleeping. Yeah, it's great to have teenagers. Anyway, so what I'm saying is make sure that you and dad are on the same page. Your behavior affects their behavior. The authenticity of you as a parent affects their upbringing, every ounce of it. So until you have decided that, hey, wait a minute, this is not just them. They don't do this to me. We're responsible. What we do every day it's the same thing. So they act generally the same. These children act the same every day. It's usually what we bring to it that affects how you go through this. All right, so I'm going to do a few more comments here. So, all right, so January Rose, I'm going to talk about autism. My oldest son has autism. The autism spectrum disorder, he's high functioning. He has not always been. I can remember when he was 9, bawling my eyes out that he was going to live with me forever. Guess what? That ain't happening. He last 2 years he served a mission for a church. He's just come home. He's getting back in the workforce, and he's getting ready to move out. So does not have to be the sad thing. I was a single mom of an autistic child, and for a time, and it was scary, and it was hard, and I had to really be in my centered space because I was co-parenting with somebody who refused to do the things that he needed to do in order to make our son be the person that he is now, like to support that. And so I had to go to court and I had to order it. I had to order that he fed him properly, that he kept the TV at a minimum, because he had autism, because there were behavior things. I had to order that he made sure that he did what the therapist said. And that meant that the therapist and I were on the same page. And in fact, when we did have our evaluations, the therapist said to me, I honestly don't think I can give you any more advice on what to do because you're doing it all. You're working on diet modification, media is low in your home, all of those things. So if you're a single mom working with autism, look at your relationship with dad. And if you need to get help, you get yourself into a therapist's office and you get a court order for dad to help you. So when it comes to autism in general, these children need more rhythm, more boundaries than your other kids will, ever. Excuse me. The fact that autism is part of the whole situation means that you have to look at them differently. So, even especially as an adult, one of the things is people will say, I can't believe he was able to serve a mission. I said, well, one of the things with Harry serving a mission as an adult was very regimented. So it was boundary and it was rhythm all the time. And so coming home, recreating that rhythm and getting back into that space for him is really important. Because it's how we should be living anyway. Rhythm is so good for us. And a lot of neurotypical people can step out of rhythm and then step back into it. But when you've got a child with autism, keeping your rhythm is really important. Now with that keeping of rhythm, we had an occupational therapist for a while. He said, so your rhythm is really good. And I think it's great. He said, but we want to help him with stress response. So purposefully do things that are off your rhythm, so that you can help him deal with stress response. And don't tell him that that's what you're going to do. So we did that. We did that when he was about 9 and 10 years old. We spent a lot of time working on those stress responses. And then as I watched him grow through preteen and teenage years, we had to work on them some more. And so I think that really it depends on where on the spectrum your child is. And if you want to send me a message and ask me, I'm totally happy to be open and honest with you about things that you can specifically do. But when, just in general, when you have a child that is on the spectrum anyway, you must get your rhythm in order. You must. You have got to do this. Not just for you, not just for your sanity, but for the health and well-being of that child with autism. They need it really badly. If you are having meltdowns and you are having them flip out on you and you are really struggling with that, you got to look at it and go, okay, I got to do what I have to do, and that is we're having this rhythm and we're getting it in order, and we're making sure that sleeping and eating is a regular basis. We're making sure that things are calm, and we know what our triggers are. We know what their triggers are. We know how to work within that. That's all part of that parenting piece, and it's dang hard, but you can do it. You can do it. This child came to you for a reason. I am a huge believer that our children come to us for a reason. And all of the things that they bring with them are things that we need to help them work through, and that work on refining us as well. Okay, some more questions. Somebody says here, hold on, let's see. Tiffany says, I think even if dad isn't 100% on the same page as moms, we can still responsibly be the best examples. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I absolutely believe that. I'm reading the rest of this. You have to be, because, so when I was going through my divorce, it was not pretty. He wasn't acting his best self. So it was all on me. It was absolutely all on me for probably a good year and a half, 2 years, maybe even 3 years before my divorce, because he was not in a mental capacity to be able to support me. It was a lot of fighting. And so I needed to be it for my kids. And that really catapulted me in the space of really learning how to hold the space. That's where I really came up with that holding the space ideal, because I could see it around me. I could see what the what my feelings were about attachment parenting and how I wanted to be, how I wanted my home to feel. And I knew I needed to create it. And so those were the years when I didn't have another partner. Those were the years that I had to really be careful cocooning that. And thankfully, when I remarried, I picked somebody better, and he was super supportive. Eric is like crazy supportive now. We talk about everything, and there are definitely things that we disagree about. And guess what? It doesn't break anything, because we love each other, and discourse is allowed, and we're allowed to talk about things that we don't agree about. But when it comes to schooling, he has backed me up 100%. Yes, you guys are going to do these lessons today. Yes, we're working on this. Hey, mom says you guys are struggling about something. Let's talk about that. So it's about it's about what you create in your home. It's about what you want your home to feel like. So it looks like there's been a recommendation here. Your child was. Yes. Yeah. Oh, no. Sorry. I thought that was a book recommendation. Yes. Your child was born to you for a reason. Thanks, Sarah, for quoting me on that. So January Rose, I'm new to Waldorf education. Is starting my 6-year-old now too late? No. It's never too late to come to Waldorf. It's never too late to implement these concepts. I would recommend that you start with our Thinking, Feeling, Willing Plus program right now, like today, because it is an amazing program that's going to give you all of these foundational training pieces, support online, support from me, and all the curriculum you need for forever. So, I would get started today. And drop me a note, and we'll have a short mini consult to get you going. So anyways, that's what I would totally recommend. I think that our program, there's several different programs out there that are, a couple of different ones that are out there for, helping you train things and get things going with Waldorf at home. Ours is the only program that teaches you how to parent, that teaches you how to get this piece in order. And even people that aren't using our curriculum use our program. So this program is an amazing program that helps you really with all of your foundations. But I really want to get back to, let's talk about, Kelly says she came late with ASD kids. Yep. I really want you to be able to harness this idea that it's all on you. And that's not something that you should be afraid of. It's something you should be excited about, even when you are in your depths of despair and things are falling apart. Guess what? It's an exciting thing that it's on you, because then you can go, well, I drive the dang boat then. I will absolutely, you can drive it wherever you want. So Carly says, we're really struggling with rhythm. Should I step away from lessons for a time to get the house in order? I have a year, 2, and a kinder. Well, it depends on what is going on in your home. So, one of the things I talk about with regards to holding the space and planning is, yes, you do need to clean your house. And I know a lot of moms are really struggling with that. My house is not spick and span. Like right now, it's a good thing y'all can't see the floor. I'm looking at the floor going, well, when was the last time somebody swept in here? But that's easy stuff, because that's just weekly maintenance. I did a blog post that we reposted a while back on our Facebook on cleaning and kids' behavior. Guess what? Those things are intertwined too. Kids cannot function in a chaotic environment. They can, but they learn to function in poor ways, and then you pay for it. So if your house is falling apart and you've got a clean house kind of situation, then yes, Carly, stop doing what you're doing and get your house in order. However, if we're just talking about you getting on top of chores, then no, don't stop lessons. Part of lessons are great because they can anchor your rhythm. So, I talk about having anchor points in your rhythm. School lessons are one of those anchors. So for us, we school 3 days a week, and school is that anchor for that chunk of the day. But that also means that that we have to make sure that we're getting up, make sure that our plans are in order, make sure that we're pushing that rhythm. Yes, it flows like a river, but it's going to be all cattywampus and crazy if we don't give it some direction. So, that means we're looking at the time. I'm not a huge schedule person, but when you're getting going with rhythm, use your watch. And if you don't have a watch and all you have is just your cell phone, go buy a cheap watch. $10 at Target. And then you'll start to level watch, and then you want to spend more money on a watch. So that's my problem, but It's not actually a problem. So use your watch. Use your watch and look at it and go, okay, so it's about 7:30 when we're done. You know, get it in your head when you want to start. If you want to be starting by 9, guess what? You have to make sure those kids are up and ready for breakfast and ready for chores, 7:30. If that's when you want to start, is 9. If you're starting at 8, then you're looking at 6:30. So you've got to give that space. You want to have a morning gathering. You want to have your breakfast. You want to have all of those things, but you want to make sure that you give yourself enough time. And I definitely recommend a walk every day. Every day. We go on about 3 1-mile walks a day. That's our standard. And that's what we need to keep sort of all the crazies at bay. We don't have a yard, though. If we had a yard, then we would probably go on at least 1, maybe 2, because movement outside in the yard is great, but you really need to think about like directed movement. So a third of their day in the school would be movement. So you want to really think about that when you're thinking about how much your kids are moving. If you have kids with behavioral issues, then they probably need to move their bodies some more and get some of that energy out. And that means you got to move your body too, Mom. I'd love to stay curled up on the couch knitting, but that is not my reality. I have got to get up and move with them. So, be willing to move with them. I don't care if you live out in the country and all you're doing is walking on a country road and walking home. Measure out a mile, go half of it, come back. You can do it. Even if you live inner city. We've lived inner city for a while, so we go walk at the safest places, the safest part of the day. Sometimes we would get in the car to go to a park to go to walk. So that don't use those excuses for not doing anything. You gotta go. It's a good thing. The airplanes are starting here, so it's getting a little noisier. So I'm going to read a couple more comments here. Syl says, I finally made the connection between when I'm not so patient and understanding and when I haven't been good to myself with eating enough. Yes, it's a huge connection to make, isn't it? I'm reading the rest of it. Funny because, yes, when your kids are having a hard time, the first thing you are asking is, are you hungry? Yes. So you have to ask the same thing of yourself. We know how we feel. And if you haven't been really in tune with how you're feeling, I'm going to challenge you this week to take the time to sit back and a couple of times during the day, check in with yourself. Go, how am I feeling? And that just takes just a minute of closing your eyes. Like, does your belly hurt? Does your, let me just give you an example. Yesterday I kept thinking, why do I feel so crappy? We went on this lovely trip to San Francisco. On the second day, I found this place that sold taffy. And Soraya loves taffy. So in my head I'm thinking, well, let's just go in here and get her some taffy, and she'll be so happy that I brought her home a treat. That was our treat from the trip. So I bought a 3-pound bag of taffy on day 2 of a 6-day trip. We didn't bring home any taffy. We ate it all in the car. All 3 pounds. That's why my gut hurts. So you have to step back and examine what's going on. Why do you hurt? Do you have aches and pains that you need to take care of? Do you need to get started on some kind of exercise regimen for yourself? I had a stroke 3 years ago. Yeah, 3.5 years ago or so. And I had crazy aches and pains all over. And I had cut down on all my medication. I do take some CBD oil because that helps with a lot of it. But I'm telling you, the biggest part is I committed to going to Pilates twice a week. When I'm at Pilates, I have no pain. So, and there are a lot of illnesses out there that have that sort of joint pain issue going, and I know a lot of you are struggling with those sort of illnesses. So I'm going to recommend that you find something, yoga, Pilates, something that's just yours that you do, and then make sure that you're sort of staying up on it. Take care of yourself. When you're taking care of yourself, one of the things I ask myself still before I go, am I hungry? I go, oh, did I take all my supplements today? Get in the kitchen and take all my supplements, because that definitely affects me. When I've got enough B's in me, then my stress response is better. When I'm making sure that I take the oils and herbs for my blood pressure, then that means that my head feels good and I feel clear and I can think. All of those things that we make sure that our kids do, we need to make sure that we take care of ourselves too. So taking care of yourself is a big spectrum. It's not just one little thing. Holding the space is a big spectrum, not just one little thing. So I would recommend that your rhythm is in a good place, that you're truly understanding the concepts of holding the space, and you're planning for them throughout your day. So if you're really struggling, if there's a part in your day where you're like, I don't understand why everything goes to heck at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, step back and look at what's going on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon then. Really evaluate. Evaluation is the biggest step in this, because then you see where you've been. You can look at what behaviors maybe you've had that have contributed to it, and then you can move forward. There's a couple more comments here. Yes, the hardest part of being a mom is focusing on yourself. Yes, ma'am, it is, because you're always focusing on somebody else. But when I really took the time to focus on myself, I could see huge changes, not just in, and that's not being selfish. In fact, it's selfish to not focus on yourself. I talked to a mom the other day, and I said, all right, so let's talk to me. You have all these kids. Talk to me about your babysitter situation. Do you get a break? She said, oh, no, we don't ever have babysitters. I said, you need to rethink that. I understand that there are a lot of moms that are struggling with their past, and so that's informing whether or not they're going to allow their children to be in the care of somebody else. I am not discounting that issue. I am not discounting your fears. What I am saying to you is find somebody that you trust that can help you with your children. You need a break on a regular basis. You need a break with your partner on a regular basis. If you have made a bunch of children with this person and you don't really like him very much, that's not a good thing, because you should be joyous in your life. So get some time alone together so you can have conversations that don't just revolve around the children. Eric and I sort of have a rule. The first 15-20 minutes of our dates usually revolve around whatever was going on in the house before we left. And then we make that break, and we don't talk about them after that. We talk about us. We talk about things that we love. We go places. We do things that he and I together on dates that we wish we could do without children. Like, so we've been to Disneyland by ourselves. We have passes, and we went one weekend, just us. We go to the art museum by ourselves. We go to the Natural History Museum by ourselves, because we want to have that space to do things as a couple and have good time together. We also one or two of the days at Comic-Con are just he and I when we go. So, and that's a lot of me supporting him and where he is and what he loves and enjoys. So remember that you are this amazing dynamic couple at the same time. You're not just your children. So make sure you get time alone together. So anytime I hear moms go, oh, we're going on a cruise, I'm like, woohoo, go have a good time. I'm glad somebody's taking care of your kids. So that means you have to attract people into your life that you trust, that can help you. And I'm not talking about, oh, you're going all the time and your kids are with a nanny all the time. No. I'm talking about getting that break. About once a week, Eric and I go on a date, and it lasts about 4 hours, and that recharges us. We've decided after being gone for the last, because we went on a trip, just he and I, was the first time in 12 years that we had been on a trip alone together for more than an overnight. The first time in 12 years. And we decided that in order for us to get grounded and feel grounded, that we needed to go on an overnight every month. Now, that's this goal and we have bigger kids. If I had an infant, I couldn't have that goal. But Soraya's 6, and she loves being with her big sister. And, we have other adults in our lives that can look out for them so that we can have that time away. But it's not because it just happened. It's because I created it. I attracted the people that I needed in my life to help us, and that I give them help too. So we have a good network of friends. So that's when people say, oh, well, you just have this great situation. I go, no, I created the situation that I wanted, and then I made it happen. It doesn't just fall into your lap. It's sort of like this conversation I had with my 20-year-old about finding a job. I said, dude, there are millions of people that need jobs. They're not going to come to you. Get off your fanny and go find one. Okay. That's what you have to do. If you have something you want, create it. You can create it. You can make friends. There are amazing people on this planet. Yeah, there are some dirtbags on this planet too, but there are amazing people on this planet. Way more amazing people than dirtbags, I promise you. But you got to go looking for them, because if all you're looking for is dirtbags, you're going to find lots of those. Go look for amazing people and find amazing people to attract into your life. And do babysitting trades. When I was a young mom, I did a babysitting trade with another mom that had the same values that I did. Man, it kicked both of our butts, because I had 3 at the time and she had 3 at the time, and my 3 were as busy as her 3, and we never sat down when we shared childcare. But we spent one afternoon a week, and I had all of her kids, and one afternoon a week she had all of mine. And it was just for a few hours. But man, when I was a single mom, it gave me the breathing space I needed. And she ended up being a single mom too, and it gave her the breathing space that she needed. So attract the people into your life that can help you, and you can help them. I'm just reading comments here, making sure there's nothing that I've missed. Not a lot of people have the same control over their situations. I'm going to challenge that a little bit, because here's the thing. I was a single mom with very little income in a really cold place in southeast Idaho, and I didn't have any family around. I felt very alone. I knew that if I was going to get anything that I wanted in life, because I had been in an abusive marriage for 13 years, if I was going to go anywhere forward, I was going to have to really work for it. And once I realized what that meant, then it allowed me the space to attract what I needed. I absolutely believe that no matter where you are right this moment, you can fix things. You can change things. It is about the decisions you make today, tomorrow, every second of today, actually. What are you deciding? If you are deciding, I am stuck, I am trapped, I can't go anywhere, I don't have these choices, I don't have these decisions, I can't do that, it's been taken away from me, then guess what? You are absolutely right. But if you decide, I am not an object, go back and watch our videos on agent versus object. I am not an object. I am an agent of my life, and I can make things move forward. And it doesn't matter if you are in a situation where you feel like you are stuck, you can get unstuck. There are changes and choices you can make. I understand illness. I understand your body hurting and not being able to move. I get it. Listen, when I had my stroke 3 years ago, when I woke up, I couldn't move my feet, my legs. For 9 days, I couldn't move. I thought, what in the hell am I going to end up doing when I get home? I don't have a wheelchair accessible house. I don't want a wheelchair. I don't want a walker. I can't live like this. This is not okay. So I had this great coming to God moment and said, listen, you saved me. You saved me to do this work. You better help me walk, because I cannot be in this spot of not walking. I need to be there for my children. The next day I walked. Is that a miracle? It is in my life, because I connected and I asked and I said exactly what I needed. Exactly what I needed. So if you are feeling trapped, you need to step back and you need to evaluate where you are. Evaluate your home. Evaluate your situation. Evaluate your relationship with your partner. Evaluate your parenting. Evaluate your own health. Look at all those pieces and then make a decision on what you're going to do. Are you going to decide that you don't have any control? Or are you going to decide that you're going to move forward in some fashion? And it might be millimeters of movement forward. Millimeters turn to centimeters, and centimeters turn to inches. Inches turn to feet. You can do this. You have to decide that that's what you want. Everybody has some sort of change that they can make in their life. You know, we lived in southeast Idaho, and I was tired of freezing my fanny off. And I can remember this was one of the biggest catalysts to us moving, was we had one very small pool there, because keep in mind, there's about 6 weeks of the year where it's warm enough to swim outside. The rest of the time it's just freaking cold. So we would go to this pool. We would go to this pool every week, and something that struck me, and my husband, his father worked for the government, so they moved a lot. I was an Army brat, we moved a lot. So we were used to being around other cultures, and of course we looked at the fact that we were in Southeast Idaho, where the culture is mostly white. And that, we traveled, and so we were hoping that was making a good impression on our children. And so we're at the pool one day, and the man behind the counter is an African-American young man who was probably, excuse me, because we lived in the Rexburg area, so it was probably from the college, and because anyway. So my son, who was about 6 at the time, 5, no, he's probably 5. My kids were huge fans of Psych, this TV show. We met the cast, talked to the cast, big fans of Psych. And so Sam says to me, "Is that Gus from Psych?" Stopped me dead in my tracks. "You think all black people are Gus from Psych? Okay, we need to move. This is not okay. This is not like what we want our children to think." So within a year, we had moved to Utah, which was better, much more multicultural. We actually were the minorities in our church congregation, because we lived in, lived in a more inner city situation. We had a lot of Samoan and Tongan families that lived with us. We were in an area where the immigrants that came in often, so we often had in our congregation, we had people that would come from Ghana and all kinds of places, and it was an amazing experience for my kids, and we loved it. But we didn't love living so close to my ex-husband, and we really loved being here. And we would come to San Diego once a year for a family trip. And when people say, "Oh, well, I could never afford to go on a family trip," guess what? We decided what it was that we wanted to do. So we go to Comic-Con every year. So I'm sort of telling you how we got here. Go to Comic-Con every year. And that was something that we were able to secure with our business, that we get to go for free. So we would come to Comic-Con. It's a 5-day convention. And if you're asking me about that in Waldorf, look it up on our blog, because I don't have time to talk about that right now. We would come to the convention, and we would buy exclusives that people want. So my husband would do an incredible amount of research on eBay and stuff the weeks before, so he knew what people were wanting. So we would come and buy exclusives and sell those at a huge profit, and that funded our trip every year. One year, we left my house in Utah with $400 in the bank. And I know that's crazy, but we came, we sold, every day we sold. And yes, it was a chance that we took, but we had a great time as a family. That was before Soraya was born, so there were only 4 of them then. And so we got the opportunity to see San Diego and have a good time here. And we really loved it. And so we went back and we decided, all right, this is what we want. God help us get there. And there were things that were placed in front of us, and we had to take each step in faith. Each step. Every single, sometimes it felt debilitating, but we took every step in faith. We realized, hey, living in a cold place, we have a $300 power bill in the wintertime. But we're not going to have that there. We live in San Diego. This is our 4th year, and I've turned on the heater one time. And it's been since we moved closer to the ocean, because sometimes it's dang cold. Not as cold as it was before, but so we realized that, hey, we don't have that. We don't have that $300 winter bill. We can add that to our rent stash. We can add all of these other things. So we looked at the big picture and what it was that we wanted and what it was that we needed, and guess what? We made it work. But it wasn't because we said we couldn't do anything about it. Okay, so I'm going to read some more comments here. Okay, so your military family. You know what? I know lots of military families that absolutely have control over their life. You might not have control over when your husband gets transferred again, or whether or not he's out at sea, or whether or not, he's in some other sort of deployment. But what you have control over is your life, like how you feel, how you look at things, what you do. One of the great things about the military is you're taken care of in a lot of ways. Yes, it's a trade-off for sure. And, I've known a lot of moms that have really struggled with all of the vaccines that their husbands had to take. And so they, put a lot of things in place. They would make sure that their kids all had the chelation stuff, so that when dad came home and maybe he was shedding, that we could take care of all of that. There are things that you can do. You don't have to feel trapped as a military family. I think especially when it's not going to be your life. If your husband is career military, then that's, one thing. You have to plan for that. But, look at it as a way to see the world. When I think about my life as an Army brat, my mom may have been stuck, but dang, she was stuck in Germany. We may have been stuck, but there were places that were amazing. We got to go do things that were amazing. And so, I think that for the most part, our military is well taken care of. And that's, of course, not everything, but they're definitely respected in most communities very well. And so I think that you shouldn't feel, I don't think you should feel like you are trapped. I think you should look at it and go, all right, so this is where I'm at now. And guess what? I know lots of military moms that are Waldorf moms that absolutely make their rhythm work. So they go, because here's a great thing. When you're in the military, they move you. They come in, they pack your stuff. You don't have to do anything. They pack your stuff up, and then you get to leave. So guess what? Utilize that time. So, hey, you don't have to do the packing. You just go and you set things up. Set up your schooling. So I would get really good at making sure that you have a bag. So because we've moved a lot. So whenever we do that, I make sure that I always have my school staging bag. And it's got all the stuff in it that we need. It's got the crayons in it. It's got the, the drawing paper in it. We may not paint those weeks, but we get everything together. So it's all in a bag. All their main lesson books. I had one of those 31 bags that stands up really nice, and was able to take that on several moves. And then we take that to the beach with us when we go to the beach. There are ways that you can make things work that aren't horrible. It's all in how you look at it. And if you decide, I'm just going to be an object, then guess what? It's going to be hard. If you decide, hey, I'm an agent of my life, there may have been some choices that I've made that keep us stationary in one spot for right now, but I can absolutely choose how I live. I lived in military housing most of my life. My young life, when we lived in Germany, we lived off base, but when we lived in New Jersey, I can remember living in military housing. It's not horrible housing to live in. I know now, living in San Diego, I know a lot of people that are in the Navy or the Air Force, and they are the list for military housing is this long. So they live off base, but I also know that they usually get an allowance for that. So, I think that you can absolutely have control over your situation, and I think you can have fun with it. And if you are struggling with having fun with it, drop me a note and I'll help you have fun with it. But really, when I thought about today's topic, I just want you to be aware that everything that you do is reflected back to you and your children. And everything that they do is in some way something that you can take care of and you can manage. And that's not being in management mom's place. I mean, yes, the management mom is a place to be for a short period of time, but I'm talking about for life. You can look at what they're doing and you can help them through it. You are the one that's supposed to help them through it. You've been charged with helping them through it. So guess what? Have a good time with it. Don't take yourself so seriously. Enjoy life. Love what you are doing. And if you step back and you're going, I hate this is bad, then decide I need to evaluate those things, the things that we talked about today. Evaluate them. And if you're not a member of our Thinking, Feeling, Willing program, I encourage you to become a member. And more than that, I'm going to give you the challenge. If you are a member of the Thinking, Feeling, Willing program and you are having these issues, I'm going to give you a big challenge. So I want you to listen. Ready? Work the program. Work the program. Don't just say I have it. Work the program. You can absolutely do this. Work the program. Start with Mom Lesson 1. Work the program. If you are stuck, send me a message, and I'm happy to help you. But you're not going to get anywhere if you don't work the program. Okay. All right. So I am going to finish these messages that I have here after. I'll respond to them in the comments. But I am going to let you go. We have been going for an hour. Holy cow. Anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I'm aiming to have a wonderful week. Harry starts his new job today, and that's going to make my house quieter. And, teach at school today. Doing some botany with my 5th grader. Yeah, it's going to be a good day. I hope you guys have a great week. Bye now.